let us go and make this delicious cinnamon roll that is so light, yet it is full of flavor, topped with amazing icing and stuffed with dried fruits and sprinkled with almonds and cinnamon. It tastes wonderful. Those almonds inside, they give a wonderful texture and taste. Let's have a look at the ingredients of making cinnamon rolls. 600 grams of flour, of that 400 white, 200 whole wheat. To that I need 300 milliliter of warm milk, 5 grams of salt, about 30 grams of baking powder, 40 grams of cinnamon powder and 15 grams of yeast, and about 50 to 70 grams of butter from olive oil. For the filling, I'm going to be using today plums instead of raisin. This is entirely up to you. I have soaked in water, took out the seeds, so I have about 150 grams of that. To that, I'm going to use the least amount of sugar. I have about 50 grams of that. Almond flakes, again, this is optional, 100 grams of it. 50 milliliter of liqueur, this is again optional for you. Into a bowl we add half of our sugar, half of our butter, all of our milk, and we mix with a spoon very well. To that we add our yeast, we mix well, and then we have to keep aside for about 10 to 15 minutes. In the meantime, I mix the remainder of my butter and my cinnamon with the sugar. And we have to stir very well. And our liquid liqueur. Finally, our plums we set aside. As you could see, our yeast reacted very well with the milk and the butter. We need to add the flour, 2/3 of that now, and we leave a bit for later on. Now we add our salt and our baking powder and the rest of the flour, and we knead by hand. To my dough, I'm going to add almost all of the flakes of the almond. I'm going to leave a little bit for decoration. We dust a bit of flour on top of our dough and we continue kneading. We set our dough aside, we cover, and we leave for about 1 hour to puff up. We put the remainder of the almond flakes into the filling mix. Our dough has doubled in size. We flour a clean surface with a rolling pin. We try to open up the dough into a rectangular shape. Once we finish rolling out, we need to cut with a knife to have clean edges. And the thickness of my dough is about less than half a centimeter. We spread our filling equally and carefully, leaving some empty spaces so for the fold line to sort of work well. Then we roll our dough carefully in a long tube. With an extremely sharp knife we have to cut in rings. Now the way I bake whatever I do is I shape it into the shape I want. Then I put it and set it aside for about half an hour. I need it to puff up. As you can see, a good half hour into the closed oven, they puffed up. I don't need to move them around, de-shape them, they're perfect. Sprinkle them with a bit of powdered sugar. Then we're going to bake at 180 around 20 minutes. 23 minutes after baking, they look wonderful, crispy. We take them out and we let them cool down. I've got 11 pieces out of 600 grams, so that is plus minus 50 grams per piece with hardly any sugar. I would say 5 grams per piece. Now it's the time to put our icing on top of our cinnamon rolls. Now if you'd like the recipe for that, you could go to my channel. We put in the fridge for about 10 to 20 minutes. Let's go and enjoy them. The texture is so rich, the icing is frozen, those fruits are so juicy, the dough, it's crispy yet soft. Let's indulge into that.